Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. There's something I really need to talk to you guys about, and it's really simple. It's sharing. If you think someone is interested in the topics or the people that I interview or anything about the show, share it with at least 3 friends this week. And then the week after, share it with 3 more friends. Hopefully the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast can help, inspire, and motivate someone out there. It doesn't matter who it is because we are all collective under the billion. Go to iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, and now, this is so cool, Google has come out with a podcasting app native for Android. Go to your Play Store, find the app, and then immediately find the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. And then share that and show your friends how to install the app if they don't know how. Podcasting is for the people, by the people. Find the podcast on emmettmuckles.com and get all the shows. If you have some questions or if you just want to reach out to Emmett, there's a Facebook page, and also visit the emmettmuckles.com contact page. Drop me a line, let me know what you're thinking, and please subscribe, rate. That means leave me some comments in iTunes or whatever you use, and share. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Emmett Muckles, and we are with the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. Today, my guest is author Johanna Aldridge. How are you, and welcome?
Thank you. I'm fine, thank you. It's great to be on your show.
and she's sitting in the dark because she's... Where are you located? You're in England somewhere, correct?
I'm actually just off the north coast of France on a little island called Jersey.
Must be nice.
It is bloody hot at the moment.
That's all. So don't complain, because you know when winter comes, you're going to be wishing for that hot weather.
Not me.
No,
I like the cold weather.
I
keep trying to persuade my husband to let us to move up to, North Canada or Iceland or somewhere, but he won't have it. He says it's too cold for him.
So I always start at the beginning versus starting in the now. And I was looking at your bio, and you said you had a tough road when you were in primary school and coming through the ranks, that people were like, nah, she's not going to be anything. She can't handle it. I mean, how did that affect you in your modern day? You know, when you think back about how people judged you and how you persevered and said, I want to do some things that you didn't expect.
A little bit smug, naturally, I think. Yeah, I mean, well, put it this way, but my sister once said to me, didn't you go to your high school reunion? I went, no, I wouldn't go if you paid me. And she said, well, why not? Wouldn't you want to go there and rub all their noses in it? No, doesn't bother me.
Right.
Not interested. But yeah, I feel I have every reason to be proud of myself. I've done quite well. I probably could have done better, but there you go.
Life is what it is. And see, that's why I named this the Billionaire Lifestyle, because it's literally not about money. Because people get so caught up on money, they forget to live. They forget to just go have whatever experience you can have with whatever resources you have, because that's living. You know what I'm saying? But
absolutely, yeah.
Let me ask you, how did you go from, you've done quite a few things, and how did you come to say, I'm going to write a children's book?
Different processes in my life, really. How it actually came down to being a children's book was a very close friend of mine, who one of the main characters is actually based on. I've been friends with her since high school, and she'd gone through a bad state of depression some years ago, and she kind of gave me the idea for it. So it was to basically cheer up. I just wrote a few stories in between my fan fiction writing, and she read them and said, they sound like good stories, you should try publishing them as children's stories.
So for those of you who don't know, we are referring to Tales from the Forest.
That's the one.
And when I look at the cover, I have a little girl who is fascinated by animals. I mean, like she would wipe us off the planet just to have the animals here.
Oddly enough, that's how I felt at her age. How old is your daughter?
How old is she? She's 9 years old. And I asked her one time, I said, so do you have animals come visit you? And she said, yes. I said, do they talk to you? She said, yes. I was like, don't ever lose that. Stay with them. I said, stay with them as long as they stay with you. She was like, she looked at me as if I was a little bit addled and was like, yeah, what would you know about it? You're an adult. Okay.
Oh, bless.
But how did you develop the characters for this book? First, let's go through the main characters in the book.
Okay, well, first off, we've got, bearing in mind that these are a collection of short stories based in this forest.
Right.
And some characters turn up in more than one story. The main character is Anita the Forest Witch, who's based on my best friend. And so I had a permission. A lot of the characters are based on people I actually know, and I do have their permission to do so. It's one of the charms of the book as far as they're concerned.
Right.
Yeah, so Anita's sort of the caretaker of the forest, I suppose you could say. She's a high-level magic user. She obviously talks to the animals, helps them through any problems they've got, things like that, really. The other main characters, there are two little boys who come to the forest who were orphans. They ran away from social services after their parents died because they were going to be put in separate homes. This is something it's always bugged me about social services in general in real life. But I think we recently had a case in the UK where two brothers were separated by foster families because they couldn't find them a home to put them together. And my personal feeling is that should not be allowed to split up siblings, but I know some people will disagree with that. So these two brothers the forest finds them, takes them in, and they join a family of werewolves. A very family-oriented pack of werewolves, vegetarians.
Wait. So you said they're werewolves, or they're just wolves?
Yeah. They're werewolves. Yeah.
So they can
very
ship.
Nice.
So they
very
can.
Nice.
So they can shape shift.
Shapeshift, yes.
Yes, it's Monday. My tongue doesn't work. So shape-shifting wolves, and
yes, Sophia and her two daughters, Dalian and Katra.
Now, since they're werewolves and they meet human beings,
yes,
even though they are very civil werewolves, why don't they want to turn them and bring them into the pack?
They do.
Plot twist. I mean, that was obvious to me. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad
it's done very quickly.
Good. I'm glad that you made it into a children's book, because as soon as you said these human beings came in and they are part of a pack of werewolves, I went to a whole nother genre in my mind that is very popular with women and some men nowadays. But you probably could do that. You probably could alter the story to go in that genre. But so how long did it take you for this process to put these stories together? Or were these stories resident in you over time and you just said, hey, I'm going to put this together, or did something inspire you?
It's a mixture of all those things, really. When I was writing fan fiction, I'd had some ideas about werewolf stories because I was writing fan fiction for the CW show Supernatural.
Really?
Yes. It's basically how I got started properly writing. I mean, I'd loved writing since I was a child. It was Supernatural that really sort of made me put pen to paper, as it were, or rather finger to typewriter, however you want to call it. And I just thought of werewolves.
See, that wasn't in your bio. That stuff you're supposed to drop on me. Now I feel Oh, yeah, by the way, I wrote for Supernatural,
Oh, no, I didn't write for Supernatural, just a fan fiction site.
But still, that's very important.
Thousands of people do that.
I understand, but that's part of the bio, man. You know how we do
I
this.
suppose it was part of what got me into writing properly, I suppose, yeah. It was more of a case of my husband got fed up with me writing these stories and answering other people's reviews and said, well, don't you think it's about time you publish something, dear? And I went, yeah, all right then. So, but overall, it took about 18 months for me to actually put the book together.
So did you have to do any research to really validate your characters?
Not a huge amount. There was a little bit of sort of, looking up, like, say, the squirrels, for example, live in a scurry with a family, or not, a whole pack of squirrels, if you like, is a scurry. Yeah, that's just little things like that. But mostly it's just sort of drawing on my imagination, really. I mean, being a magical forest, I could have anything there I want and I could make up anything I like.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, too. But, nowadays, when it comes to certain types of fiction, particularly in the fantasy realm, there are people who are very articulate in the genre, and they're like, that doesn't work. How does that work?
I know, yeah.
So,
people who, so they're what I call Puritans.
Yeah.
I just ignore them. No, I'm just kidding. No. I mean, I understand where they're coming from as well. I mean, I grew up with the likes of Tolkien and Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, that sort of thing. Terry Pratchett's Discworld. I think it was probably Terry Pratchett that influenced me to a certain extent on how my books characters run and how the storylines go, because he just took anything and he played around with it and just adapted to how he wanted it to be. So he took existing ideas and just turned them into something else.
Gotcha. So you have inspiration, and it kind of ties into the book and some of the characters in the fact that you're talking about werewolves. So you're tying in the canine factor and the human factor, but there's kind of a love of your life besides the man in your life, which is a black lab, right?
Yes, actually, he was here a minute ago. I think he's gone. He might have gone upstairs. His dad's asleep upstairs, you see.
He's probably watching Pets.
Could be. Yeah, I must admit, I do have a sneaky suspicion he's got a little iPad stashed away somewhere.
So how did this lab? What's his name?
Nelson.
So how did that affect your life and your writing as well?
Well, I mean, I suffered from depression years and years ago. I suffered from depression most of my life, and I grew up with dogs in general, anyway, working dogs, family dogs, that sort of thing. And then when my husband and I got together, we finally got to move into a house with a backyard, a proper fenced-in garden. I said, well, how the conversation started was, darling, I want a baby. And he went, all right, what's your opening gambit? What do you really want? So Nelson came into our lives, and he was great with me. He was great as a sort of kind of an unofficial therapy dog. And he's been there. He keeps me calm sometimes because when my anxiety gets too great, and also it's just his little ways that just make me laugh when I least expect to.
That's awesome.
I mean, he's an amazing animal, amazing person. He really is.
So how did Nelson come into your life? Did you go and look for Nelson?
Yes, we did.
Oh, I thought he might have just drove up in a Bentley and just knocked on the door and was like, I'm looking for a home, and this looks like a nice one.
If he'd been older, I wouldn't have put it past him, actually. No, it was somebody had said to us, I hear you're looking for a dog. But there's some black Labrador, some Labrador pups have just been born. And so we arranged to go and view them once they were old enough. Mm-hmm. And there were 10 of them, 7 black, 3 golden. And I literally just walked into the room. Their mum is a 2-year-old black lab. She was gorgeous. She came running up to us, barking, and as if to say, come and look at my babies, aren't they gorgeous? And she was such a sweetheart. And they all woke up and started crawling all over the place, and I didn't know which one to cuddle because they were all gorgeous. And I was just messing around. Suddenly felt this warm weight on my foot. And I thought, oh no, one of them's peed on me. And I looked down, and no, there was this little tiny black Labrador puppy staring up at me as to say, "You're mine."
That's great.
And then he pushed all the other puppies away and crawled up into my arms. And the owner said, or the breeder had said to us that he's actually the litter alpha. We call him the captain. I said, that's odd, because we would like to have had a black Labrador and called him Nelson, as in Captain Horatio Nelson. So it was like fate, really, that he came into our lives. He was meant to be with us. Either that, or he just saw us coming. Thought, "Here, a couple of mugs. I'll take them for everything I can."
So since you say he was, named the alpha from where he originated from, does he play a part in your writings as an alpha?
In a way he does, because he becomes his character in the book. Actually rescues a colony of rabbits and takes them to the forest. And he ends up being, he's the best friends of one of the rabbits in there. The rabbit concerned is Billy, silly Billy Bunny. He's a little bit like me. He was always the odd one out that everyone thought was a bit weird.
You mean he didn't make Hassenpfeffer?
Sorry?
He didn't make Hassenpfeffer, which is rabbit stew?
No. The real Nelson wouldn't say no, but no. If he caught a rabbit, he wouldn't know what to do. He'd probably lick it to death. But Nelson in the book, he rescues them. He takes them away from the farm before the farmer can come after them. And the forest finds them, and they sort of set up home there. And eventually, Billy Bunny becomes the elder of the rabbits.
Oh.
And Nelson being her friend, they're very, very close. They're more like brother and sister.
Yeah.
They're often pushing each other around. They're sort of taking it in turns as to who's in charge and who isn't.
Now, I have to pose this to you. So you have set this up to sell books, and I assume that you have other sources of income. But you set it up so you want to sell enough books to actually create a dog shelter. How did that come about? Did Nelson whisper in your ear while you were sleeping, like, "Hey, I got a great idea. Check this out"?
I suppose it might have been a little bit like that. No, I've always loved dogs. I've had a huge fascination for them, and I'm actually studying a few online courses to do with dog training, canine communication, and the history of it. It's fascinating. I just find it absolutely. It kills me when I hear or see stories of dogs that have been abused or abandoned. Just recently on Facebook, there was one of a 17-year-old collie that was abandoned by his family because he was too old. And that's heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine it. I mean, when Nelson's 8 years old now, I could not imagine dumping him off until 4 years' time just because I wanted a younger dog.
Yeah.
He's always going to be my boy. So I just can't understand people who do that, and they should never be allowed to have dogs in the first place if they're going to do something like that.
So what was your attraction to dogs versus cats? A lot of times it's cats. But, cats treat you like they're aristocratic. They treat you like they're the master and you're the slave. Like, come, pet me.
Yeah, but dogs do in their own way. They're just a bit more clever about it. They let you think you're the one in charge. Be like a husband-wife relationship.
Yeah.
The person thinks he's in charge, she lets him think it.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was an anonymous quote that I've always loved, and that's, you don't own a dog, the dog owns you. So I am Nelson's human.
I can attest to that from all my friends who have canine friends, and they cannot make a move. Wait a minute, I have to make sure my dog is okay. I have to make sure my dog hasn't walked. It's my dog, my dog, my dog. With the rest of us, it's my kids, my kids, my kids. So with my younger constituents, it's my dog, my dog, my dog. But with the sanctuary, how many books would you need to move to create this sanctuary?
Oh, an awful lot, to be honest. At the moment, we're just sort of thinking if we can take on 2 or 3 dogs of our own from shelters or sanctuaries or other places like that. Eventually, the idea is we would like to be able to raise enough money from a series of books to be able to move and get a piece of land so we can actually have a forever home for them.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That's the ultimate big goal, but obviously that's way in the future. So we're just concentrating here and now and taking it each day at a time and see what we can come up with first.
So when did your book come out? When was it?
It's already out.
No, when was it released? When was it formally released?
20th of April.
So brand new. Are you going to any conventions? Are you cross-promoting or making any appearances, doing any readings so that you can promote the book or get the awareness out for your cause, for one, and for the book itself?
I've had a couple of radio interviews on local radio, mainly. I'm planning on doing some readings on YouTube at some point. Last month, unfortunately, has been a bit up and down for me because I've had a major operation, so I'm kind of recovering from that at the moment. But yeah, we're looking at it as a marathon rather than a sprint, so we're gradually over time building up, deciding exactly which way we're going to do it, because obviously I've never done this before. I've never marketed a book, and I haven't really got a clue what I'm doing, so I'm learning as I go along. But yeah, I mean, obviously Twitter and Facebook feature very highly in it.
Yeah, well, blessings to you for that.
Thank you.
And in your acknowledgments, you thank various people for helping make the book possible, because I've written the book myself, and I know it's literally a learning task, and you need human beings to guide you along the way. And yes, you've included some actors. So yes. Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki. Yeah, I got that right.
Yeah.
So why these 2 people? I mean, like, I know that there's an editor and there's a graphic artist and there's your cousin that always tells you can do it. Why not them?
Those 2 play Sam and Dean Winchester in Supernatural. And the 2 young orphan boys, they've kind of inspired off their performance of Sam and Dean in the series, but also partly because Jared had set up a kind of a campaign charity called Always Keep Fighting. He was diagnosed with clinical depression some years ago, around about the time I was, and he sort of opened up about it a few years ago. And he set up this charity, Always Keep Fighting, to try and raise awareness of mental health. And that's where the paths cross a little bit, because I'm a big advocate of dogs, or animals in general, as family members, are actually very good for helping with people who suffer from depression and anxiety. Not just, they help with physical health issues as well. They're great for lowering blood pressure, lowering stress levels. So I'm trying to sort of promote the idea that, dogs have been around. We've been domesticating them for the last 15,000 years at least. And I don't think we would have made it this far without them. There are scientists who believe that if they hadn't chosen to stick with us and hunt with us, even taught us how to hunt to a certain extent, we probably wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that, because as a kid, my family was hunters, and so we always had beagles around, and we had to take care of the beagles. And when you said rabbits, it took me back to some things I had to clean back in the day.
Oh, I've been there and done that. Yeah, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah, so I get it. Now, your book is available on Amazon.
That's right, yeah.
But here's the funny thing. So I'm in America, you're in the UK,
Yeah.
But I only see it in pounds. British sterling pounds.
It's not on the Amazon.com website.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Hold on.
Tales from the Forest.
Is it? Hold on.
You had no idea you were just going to be talking to one of your friends when you came for this interview, did you?
I'm determined to have a look at this because I've actually had to have a word with them a little while ago.
Yeah, because it didn't convert.
I decided that my Kindle one wasn't available on the American website. I went,
no, it's available, but
yeah, but I had to speak to them and say, "Will you sort that out?" Because it doesn't appear to be showing as available. So now it does, but.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are going to be authors, this is a good tidbit for you because it happened to me. And I'm not talking about what she's talking about. I'm talking about when you produce a very new item on Amazon. You drop off a crate of books, right? Or a crate of Tinker Toys, whatever they are. And as soon as you drop them off, there's always some used versions ready for you.
There is, isn't there? Yeah, we noticed that when my husband and I went on. We're like,
that's part of the marketing.
Used ones available. How did that happen?
Yeah, but here's the thing about it. So the game is really great for you because the used ones are more expensive than the new ones.
I think I still get the same percentage though, mate. I don't think I'll make any more out of it.
Absolutely.
It depends on my editor. My publisher is Katie Keating, obviously, as you know. So
why didn't you self-publish?
I suppose I'd read all the sort of the stories about authors trying to find it. Before you could go to get published at the traditional route, you have to find a literary agent first, and then all the kinds of rejections happen. And I thought, I don't want to wait that long. So, I thought I've spent 12 odd years writing as it was, practicing and trying to polish my craft, as it were. I didn't want to wait any longer, so I just thought, well.
So what's the next book going to be? I know you already have it in your psyche, so you can at least tell me what the title is.
The working title at the moment is Secrets from the Forest.
So is this going to be a trilogy, or is it just going to be an ongoing series as it develops?
Probably an ongoing series as it develops. At the moment, it's sort of, we're just sort of working through some ideas. But, yeah, we're hoping it will be a series. But the next book will show you a bit more about how the forest ticks. You have a few more new characters come in. You'll see a lot of the old ones as well. Obviously, Anita will feature a lot in it. There will be a little bit more contact with the outside world, our world, with people possibly trying to break in to the forest.
Yeah, that's very true because, I mean, it's happening today. We're losing our forest like crazy, and I don't understand why we don't realize that helps to sustain our ecosystem.
Well, exactly. And the problem is it's overpopulation. Isn't it really?
Yeah, well, we got to quit laying down so much. We got.
I've done my bit. I haven't had any children.
That's all right. I've had enough and I've fed enough, so I'm good. You know what they say? If you feed them, they look just like you anyway. So that's life. So what's your plans for the next 6 to 12 months with promotion, with appearances, with being out? Are you going to be at any conferences? Like I said before, because this is a science fiction, or it would fall into the mystical science fiction, so that gives you a lot of leeway where you can appear. And
the problem is that because I live on this tiny little island, you'd be surprised how difficult it is to get off the island.
That's why you have to have a rowboat.
Actually, I was thinking something a bit more ambitious, like a helicopter.
Or an ultralight.
Really big drone. Like Amazon are thinking of employing drones, aren't they, to drop parcels into people's back gardens.
There you go.
Get a big one of those.
Yeah,
Also, the fact that I work full time at the local hospital as well, up in the laboratory there. So, trying to get time off around some of the conferences that happen in the UK is difficult. I mean, I'd love to go to some of the conventions that they've got in the US.
Well, awesome. So, how can everybody reach you? What's all the ways? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
YouTube, on Goodreads as well, I think. Also Central. I'm still finding my way with a lot of this stuff at the moment. So.
You have to be on Instagram. Instagram is the new spot.
Yeah, I'm still finding my way with that, but I am actually getting there.
So, what's your name on Instagram?
Johanna Aldridge.
You know, that's kind of that's very common. That's like John Smith.
Yeah, it was Johanna with an H.
Ah, did you hear that? So if you type it in, a bunch of Dutch women are going to just pop up in. No.
I'm just trying to think what my profile picture is, actually. You
All
can
right.
spot my profile picture on Twitter easily enough. There's me and a black Labrador and his tongue sticking out next to me.
So I'm going to spell that for everyone. That's Johanna, and then Aldridge, which is Aldridge. You can go to Amazon. On the cover, it says Johanna Sarah Aldridge. So she's even got like that little mystical thing, so you won't know it's her. It's kind of like Clark Kent.
Well, I did think about doing J.S. Aldridge. I thought, well,
now that sounds like an author. J.S. Aldridge. That sounds like...
Yeah, but I thought Tolkien's done it, Rowling's done it, and there's every author out there on Twitter is their first initial, second initial, and their surname. Like, it's just so cliche, isn't it?
That's, it's cliche. That's what people do.
I know. I mean, nothing, no offense to them. That's fine. I just thought, nah, I'll just stick with my name.
All right, we have to go through the exercise. All my guests do this exercise.
Okay. Should I be worried?
No, we're too far apart.
All right, then.
All right. Close your eyes, baby.
Right, okay.
So, you're going to go back to when you were 16 years old.
Uh-oh.
I'm just giving you a precursor. Now, we're going to be in the current time. So, you're sitting on that where you are right now. You're chilling out. Nelson's next to you. No one else is home. You're probably watching, a rerun of Supernatural, and you're just chilling, doing your thing. And your doorbell rings or someone knocks at your door, and you get up casually, and Nelson doesn't even bark. He doesn't even move. And you get up.
That sounds about right, actually.
And you get up and you go to the door and you open the door like, who in the world is this? And you open it up, and there is your 16-year-old self. And your 16-year-old self says, I've been searching to find you. And I just want to ask you one question. And that question is, what do I need?
Okay. Sense of humour. Definitely.
That's a first.
Big sense of humour, girl. Or at least keep your sense of humour.
Good.
If anything, grow it. You're going to need it.
Good. Well,
and don't let anyone tell you not to be stubborn.
Not to be what?
Not to be stubborn. Anyone has a go at you for being stubborn, say, damn right I am. Be proud of it. Own it.
Yep. It's got me into a lot of trouble. It's got me into a lot of good situations too, though.
Exactly.
Well, Johanna, I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you, mate. It's been brilliant. It's lovely to meet you.
You too. And I'm finding out from my guests that off the coast of England and France, there's all these little islands that people hang out on and live on. And like my very first guest, I think she said Canary something. I can't remember.
Canary Islands.
Yeah. She was
right, yeah.
I was like, I get around, Well, here's how we end the show. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to connect with yourself. So if you're listening to this show, I want you to send me something. Go to info@emmettmuckles.com. Whatever platform you listen to it on, go and rate and leave a comment. If it's iTunes, if it's Stitcher, if it's TuneIn Radio, if it's the new Google app. So if you have an Android phone, you can download the Google podcast app and you can always have it with you. But now that that's out the way, let's move on. Close your eyes, everyone. Unless you're driving, don't do it. But I want you to just go inside to yourself. And I literally need you guys to own yourself and appreciate yourself. You know that person that you felt love from? That person that had a crush on you? The next time you get out the shower or you're just by yourself or you're in the bathroom, you get out, leave the robe, leave the towel down, and I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to just look at yourself. You can step back, you can step forward, you can do a 360 turn. I want you to take it all in. You might have that flabby arm, that thing that's under your bicep, that chicken wing. You may have moles all over your face. You may have a crooked nose, or you may have a head that doesn't quite turn right like mine. But I want you to realize this is the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. And why I call it the Billionaire Lifestyle, because literally 30 days after your parents consummated and made you possible, you were a billion cells. And you are a part of this universe. And I'm going to explain it to you. You are a part of the greater being. When you look at galaxies in the sky, and if you look close enough into your eyeball, they kind of remind yourself of each other. When you look between the eyeballs, there is this beautiful canal that brings in air, which keeps you alive. You can think. And one other thing. Talk to yourself in your mind. Just sit and be by yourself. And I want you to say, I love me. Until next time, peace.